Every morning, the light keeps getting brighter as I wake up to the truth. And every day, I'm feeling so much lighter, and the world is fresh and new. What I was taught and the way that I thought stopped serving me long ago. Now I'm learning to trust in the God of all of us. Each day I start anew, and so I'm walking away from the thinking that helped me for so long. Today's the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to confusion. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to such sadness. Today is the day I walk away. Every day I walk away. Every morning brings a new beginning. By grace another day to be. I awaken to the sun upon me shining, lighting the way for me to see things that I sought and the way that I thought stopped serving me long ago. Now I'm learning to trust in the God of all of us. Of yesterday I'm letting go. I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to confusion. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the less than that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to such sadness. Today is the day I walk away. Every day I walk away. Today is the day I walk away.
Please join me in prayer. We come together yet again to celebrate the experience of listening to that divine spark within and all that it's trying to tell us. We're so grateful to come together again in this place to celebrate that one perfect life that permeates all creation. That power that becomes what it loves and expresses in unique ways through each and every one of us here in this space, everyone within the sound of my voice, everyone on planet Earth, and everywhere other people may exist. We know that each and every one of us is made in the image of that one power, perfect, whole, and complete by divine design. All that source is, each and every one of us are in unique individual expressions. And so what we know is that everything that takes place here in this space, this day, will be perfect in every way. And everyone will leave with whatever they need to lift them up into that fullest expression of all they were created to be here on this plane, making a world that works for everyone together as that community of New Dawn. I give thanks for every light being in this space, for every light being listening to this service online, and for all who may find it later. I know that Spirit's timing is impeccable, and it speaks to us at the exact right time without fail. I release these words in the divine law where they're already done in that universal mind. I let this go, I let it be, and together we affirm. And so it is. So good to see all of you here today. I've got some words that I hope will be inspirational. The first inspirational quote is from Rumi, that magnificent poet. He says that silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation. From the Buddha, you only lose what you cling to. And from our founder, the Honorable Dr. Ernest Holmes, who uses more words, because that's who Ernest is. Nothing is ever lost. That which seems to pass away is but preparing to return in another form. Just before we get started, next week we have this manifesting magnet workshop. And, we had some discussions about it, and there was a little confusion that we had because, we had a suggested love offering of $25. And that thought, well, that seems a little bit steep. But she's talking about creating an inner magnet, and it's not just discussing it. You're going to end up at the end of that workshop walking out with something like this that you're going to make with your own hands. She's bringing the supplies in here. We need to know how many folks are showing up. So I know a few have RSVP'd on Facebook, but there's a sign-up sheet out there on the welcome table right by the door to the sanctuary. If you're able to make it, please let us know if you're coming. We need to know how many folks are joining us. You can also send an email to newdawnaurora@gmail.com to let us know if you're going to be able to make it. And it's hands-on, and so we're using our heart, hands, and our heads in this workshop. So it'll be fantastic. And this week, we have silence, what silence can teach us about listening. So, you'll have a chance to practice this silence. You'll be ready to tell everybody what you want to manifest by the time you get here next week. So we're looking forward to that. And this week, as I said, we're talking about listening to life, embracing change, and impermanence, And I was spending time with my notebook, writing my notes for this talk, learning to life, embracing change and impermanence. And as I was sitting down, sort of writing notes and just gathering my thoughts for this talk, I noticed I had some tightness in my right leg, which I have a history of blood clots. And so I sent my doctor a message. I said, who do I make an appointment with? The last time I went for the left leg, they didn't really do anything. And so about 20 minutes after I sent this message, she calls me on the phone and says, I want you to go to the emergency room. Now, this didn't fit in very well. I was in the middle of my notes. And it's like, I don't want to go over there. That wasn't a good experience last time. And I'm lamenting on what happened last year. She says, I want you to go. There are tests I want to have to make sure that this isn't something that's in the middle of your body. So she went. And of course, I had arranged to spend some time with some friends. So I called my friend Crystal. I said, there's a change of plan. I can't make it over. I've got to go to the ER. And so the whole ride over here, I'm telling her what I'm not going to put up with and what I'm not going to experience. And I happened to mention that I'm in the middle of my notes. And she said, what's your topic? I said, embracing change and impermanence. She says, and you're the guy that's going to deliver that talk, huh? So I had to kind of take 2 steps back and take a couple of deep breaths. I was a little hungry at the time. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be. And I just waited patiently. They got me in right away and started doing all the tests. Most of it was a waiting game, waiting for the results to come back. And I did go straight to IHOP at 10:35 when they let me out. I arrived at 5:30, 10:35. I went across the street to IHOP. All was good. The cinnamon bites were good for everything but my waistline. So listening to life, what's the chief obstacle that we have in our lives, It's resistance. It's resistance. It's this little thing in the back of our heads that tells us what's acceptable, and a lot of that centers around external things. There's just things that are just completely out of our control. And there's something about that small ego self in me that wants to control everything around me so that I stay comfortable. And we got a couple of good buddies that show up in life that kind of make that tricky. One of them is uncertainty. How do we know what's going to take place, We have to prepare ourselves for whatever comes along and give thanks for whatever comes along. And then our other good friend is this deal we call paradox. And this is kind of at the heart of what we try to do here. It's yes and. It's that space where 2 seemingly completely opposite things can be true at the same time. Like we live in a reciprocal universe. In order to keep getting the gifts that we get, we got to give them away. You got to give it away to keep it. That's one of the many paradoxes that we come across here, So it's all about freedom. Thich Nhat Hanh. Impermanence is not our enemy. It's a portal to our awakening. So the fact that everything continues to shift, continues to be dynamic, we're created from that source that we call God. God creates everyone and everything in his own image. And God's nature is to create and to evolve and to grow and to expand. This need to expand is built into our nature. This is why we find ourselves at times being a little restless or irritable or discontented. It's kind of like, what am I doing with my life? Isn't there something else that's supposed to be taking place? I feel like something's missing. And so that's that divine spark within us that's pulling us, Michael Beckwith talks about being pulled by our dreams as opposed to pushed by our fears and insecurities. It's a much better place to live from. Thich Nhat Hanh is a very wise man, And so he's talking about this awakening, this new unfolding, this becoming what it is that we are meant to be. And of course, there's our friend. Uncertainty is that constant reminder that many things shift without our consent, approval, or understanding. Amazing how that kind of works. I find that, if I'm patient and I just kind of work through, and it's been my experience over the long haul, everything tends to work out for my highest, best good. But man, when it's not something that I see coming or I understand, it's just, I got to stop and sit with that and think about change, Embracing change is the sacred fire we walk through to be shaped by surrender. We let go of what no longer serves us, come to grips with the present moment, whatever that brings. We accept and allow whatever circumstances are taking place around us, and we accept and allow ourselves to be ourselves. And that includes embracing our shadow, those little quirks that aren't too flattering that we just rather nobody see or talk about, just kind of sweep those into the corner and not deal with them. But they're part of our whole selves. It's yielding to the power of spirit within, because there's an inner knowing that is connected directly to source, that knows what to do the right time, all the time. Now, the ego mind clings to the familiar. That's a place of safety. That's actually its job when it's functioning purposely, is to protect us, Divine source also says peace isn't found in what stays the same. It's discovered in our willingness to flow with what transforms. When we resist that natural flow of living, we create stress for ourselves. That comes out of fear. It's fear in its many forms as it shows up, whether that's kind of fear of loss, fear of not getting what we want, fear of failing, and even fear of succeeding. What if I pull this off? I'll have to operate at a higher bar. They'll expect more of me. Oh, that'll mean more work. Oh, God forbid I should do any work, On a practical level, when we're listening, we're creating space for ourselves to listen to that inner wisdom, that fundamental idea of God that's already built in. It's already built in. We're made from this God stuff. We already know this stuff. It's in here. But it's slowing down and stopping long enough to take these things in. And, we get a little busy, Sometimes I think we forget that we're human beings and not human doings. Because the activity actually distracts us from those things in ourselves that we may not be pleased with. Those little quirks I was talking about, we'd like to shove in the closet there. So that distraction is a way of not dealing with whatever comes up, and silence allows us to deal with that. So, what is it that voice that's trying to get out, trying to tell us? It will tell us things if we sit still and listen to it, because it's plugged directly into source. There's a direct feed. There's no middle broker. There's a direct feed into that source. So Matthew Fox says there's an inner mystic in every one of us yearning to play in the universe. Set the mystic free. Set the mystic free. Step into that space. Trust that it's something that's well beyond our thinking minds into a deep part of us that isn't affected by all of this crap that's going on, that doesn't hold anything against us in any way about our past, doesn't have any dread for the future. It's that inner knowing, that's that direct connection to source. It's like plugging into the wall, all the power you need. What keeps us from having that power is not plugging it in. How can I complain about the toaster spitting up cold toast if I won't turn on the power? If I won't turn on the button, if I won't plug in the toaster, the bread is going to be cold until I take action and plug in the toaster. And, that's a concept that seems to leave us, And so what happens when we go into that space? We worry about all of these things and what parts of us need to be there and what do I need to do? Everything that's not meant to be there is going to fall away. I can promise you that. And then, our calling, that deeper calling, that thing which we're called to do, that's just going to come to us naturally, Our problem, or my problem, is that, every once in a while I'll get into the how. Now I'm getting my fingers in the God's part of this deal when I'm starting to try to figure out how and control that and control the outcome. That's the small ego self trying to protect itself again. Spirit knows what to do. It's plugging in and developing that trust and building that trust, and getting into that deeper self, taking time, anchoring silence helps us ask critical questions. A lot of times after I sit, I get my journal out. We can ask the body what's going on. Anytime I got something going on, it shows up somewhere in my body. When I got tightness between my shoulders and around the neck area, okay, that's some anger going on. Financial fear shows up in the hamstrings. And then the calves not getting my way, which is probably why my legs were clotting up, but that's another story. When I'm not accepting what's in front of me. It's already happened. Why make a fuss over it, We're making, it's just creating that stress for myself. There's rituals, I can put my hand over my heart when I have fear, get the journal out, putting something on a piece of paper and burning it or putting it in the shredder. Put it in the God box. I got a couple of boxes. I had them both on my altar, but now I've got a hanging gratitude box that I can put Post-it notes in. The God box still sits on the altar. And when I'm trying to get my fingers into things where I'm trying to control outcomes, I put it on the Post-it note and drop it in the God box. At the end of the year, the month, it depends on how many things I've had to put in there. I have a shredding party, where I shred that, because it's not the normal paper that goes up. But it's putting it in the God box. It's that, it's letting go of that thing that I can't control, So why would we bother to go inside? Well, if we go back to our book from May, Frank RScP, that fourth invitation is to find a place of rest in the middle of things. When things are flying at us, when we find all of these things start to feel overwhelmed, it's a good time to stop and just remember that we're anchored to an unlimited source of love and power and energy that's available to us all the time, 24/7. It's all about my willingness to plug in, and I can connect with that divine inner voice, When I'm not sure what the next right thing to do is, sit down and get in touch with that inner voice. And when that answer comes back that sounds really good, call somebody to make sure you're not stuck in the middle of wishful thinking. Just check it out. It doesn't hurt, but it's good to listen to. And then it's getting in touch with that shadow, all of those little unflattering things. Knowing that all of these things shape who you are. And in essence, we're all divine by nature. Our nature is the same as God's nature. We're good. We've got a basic good that's there. And, these other things, these failed life strategies that we found ourselves taking up as a way to protect our ego selves. Well, that happens. But we're not what we think. We're not how we feel. We're not what we have. We're not what we do. We're something beyond that. We are that divine spark, that unique expression of that power that we call God. And that inner wisdom is always available to us. That shadow will give us lessons. We learn stuff from that shadow about how we should express or how we want to express. It teaches us how we want to show up in the world if we're willing to listen to the lessons. But a good friend of mine used to say, if you don't learn the lesson from the experience, you have to experience the lesson again. I've done some repeat tours in my, maybe the rest of you aren't that bad, but I've done some repeat tours, you know. And, you know, we can release things like fear, judgment, guilt, shame, remorse, grievances. Get in touch with these emotions. Now, these are tricky things. They're kind of a pain in the neck from time to time, these emotions, because they got a nasty way of showing up when you really don't have time to deal with them, you know. It's just like, yeah, I got something else to do or something, you know. But these show up, you know. And our go-to strategies in a lot of cases would be to find a way not to deal with it. Don't want to feel this, don't want to, you know. And we come up with all kind of creative ways not to deal with these feelings, but they're going to come up. And what we want to learn to do is greet them. It's like walking into your house if you have a dog, having your dog run up to you. And what's that like if you have dogs? Some of you have dogs, you know. You could be gone for 2 hours, and when you walk in the door, the dog runs up to you. It's just like, where you been? You've been gone forever. It's so good to see you. So good to see you. And they greet you with that love and that anticipation. Can I learn to do that getting off of a meditation cushion with whatever shows up, whatever these emotions are? Can I learn to do that? You know, can I learn to greet whatever shows up? Yeah, I usually can when there's something that's good or that I'm anticipating. But what about these unexpected things, these little curveballs that life throws you? People telling you to do something for your own good, and you're like a toddler and you don't want to do it. Like not too long ago for me, less than 48 hours ago, as an example. But this is the way we want to approach things. And silence is that thing it's that power tool that helps us get in touch with that inner wisdom that's there. Silence is God's first language, and it's a power tool for going inside. No spiritual exercise is as good as silence. Be still and know. Be still. Be. So we can answer the deepest questions from the stillness. It's that place where we can kind of let our ego selves rest and step into that spirit. We go behind the words. We hear words, but we want to go behind that because that's where that inner wisdom, that deep inner wisdom lives. We come to grips with reality that's unfolding before us in the present moment. All about being in that present moment. We strengthen our spiritual literacy, which is our ability to read the signs written into the text of our experience. Every spiritual practice on the planet moves in that direction, bar none. That's where we're all going. We've got different paths that we take, and that's the beauty of it. There's so many different paths to God and so many things that are available to God, you know. And I know people that don't believe in God. There's a piece of me that feels a little sorry about that because there's so many to choose from. But I understand it. I mean, I had my issues with it for many years because for many years, my impression was that there's some kind of standard you have to meet, some kind of box you have to check to get favor with this power, and that's just not the case. This power has gone all out to find ways to connect with each and every one of us. And it throws a lot of different things out there for us to pick and choose. But we love one another, we take care of each other, and we treat each other the way we want to be treated. And there's not one practice that doesn't have that built in. How they get at it is a little bit different. That's all right. You know, variety is the space of life. The other thing that silence helps us do is to pay attention. We build our awareness. Awareness is the building block of enlightenment. That's where enlightenment starts, is that awareness. What's taking place? What's going on inside of me? What's happening in this present moment? And it's being in touch with that present moment that silence gives us. Mother Teresa, a very brilliant lady, a woman of service, She said the more we receive in silent prayer, the more we can give in our creative life. There's a lot to be said for silent prayer. We talk about affirmative prayer. That can be a little energetic and spruced up. But silent prayer can reveal a lot. So Mark Nepo, author of this book, I don't know if we've got copies left. We had some copies in the lending library. It's a wonderful book. If you haven't had a chance to read it, check out the Spiritual Lending Library, see if we got any copies left. But he says, listening is a partnership by which we listen and converse with everything. And in this conversation with everything, yes, sometimes words are involved, but more through presence and attention. It becomes a partnership by which we keep everything joy. So I got 3 invitations for you this week. The first one is going to be immerse yourself in silence. Beneath the words is deeper and fresher eternal ways of listening that keep us alive, connect us to that divine spark. Nepo says that listening is leaning into the world of love. All things in the universe want to be heard, as does the deep voice within you calling to express fully with all of the gifts you've been given. It's something we undertake with intention to move forward from a place of love. So who do we listen to? Are we focused on love? Are we focused on the unknown or something else? Everyone that comes into our experience isn't going to be coming from an intention of love. It's really that simple. That's just a part of life. Which is why Eugene Kelly says this: there are times when silence is the most sacred response. We don't have to step into everything that is presented to us. Some things are presented to us as a reminder of what we're trying to do. That could be people who aren't awake. That could be those things within ourselves that come up. But we don't have to listen to that voice. The voice that we listen to is the one that tells us we're connected to Source. We're perfect, whole, and complete by divine design. So our second invitation for the week is to let love be the guiding force in everything you do, in every case, everyone you speak to. As far as the unknown goes, the letter X is the one that's used out of the alphabet to signify the unknown, to signify mystery. Life is, a lot of times, it's a mystery. Here's the first mystery to life, though. There is no mystery. There is that which is God, and there's nothing else. Mysteries can't be explained, they can only be encountered. And we build spiritual awareness. And how do we do that? Well, Rabbi Lawrence Kushner says, spiritual awareness is born of encounters with the great mystery. Our third invitation for the week is to wrap ourselves in the unknown with calm confidence, abiding faith, and absolute trust that Spirit will always lead us to that which brings the highest, best good in our experience. Always. No matter what it looks like in the middle of it. It's been my experience, and boy, sometimes it's quite a ride. But, gift yourself this week by taking up invitations to listen to Him, listening to your life and embracing change and impermanence, because they're the one thing that keep going. And keep in mind, as you go through your week, there's a part of every living thing that wants to become itself, and that includes each and every one of us here. Please join me in prayer. We are so grateful for the connection that we have with the one unique mind, the divine source that is God, that permeates all creation. We're so grateful for all of the gifts that each and every one of us has, that unique blend that empowers us to express as no one else can express in this world. And we are grateful for the other beautiful light beings in our lives that surround us, who also have unique gifts and express in unique ways as God has put them here to express. We know that all that takes place is divinely inspired, no matter what it looks like. And we know that the root of all peace, serenity, joy, and harmony start within and spread out into that world. And we are here, grateful for the opportunity to express as only each and every one of us can in the way that God designed us to, as individuals and as a community, to make a world that works for everyone. We're grateful for this opportunity. I give thanks for all the light beings in this space with me here today, these unique expressions of the divine that are here to help me in this journey to create a world that works for everyone, and to go within that encouragement that they give me to go within, to remember who I am and to go back to that divine source, because the Spirit of God within is the source and supply of all our needs, wants, desires, and aspirations. I release these words into that divine law that knows how to mold, make, shape, and create all the good there is everywhere, all the time. I let this go, I let it be. And together we affirm, and so it is.
You might slip, you might slide, stumble and fall by the wayside, yeah. But don't you ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember, we're walking on to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. Yeah, walk with the rich, walk with the poor. Learn from everyone what this life is for. But don't you ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember, we're walking on to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. Some say yes, some say no. Some wait to see which way the wind's gonna blow. But don't you ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember, we're walking on to heaven. Don't let nobody ever turn you around. Turn you around. No, no, no. Well, I might say some things sound strange to you. I might tell you spirits within you. I believe it's true. Don't let nobody drag your spirit down. Well, yeah, we're walking on to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around. Oh, no. You might slip, you might slide, stumble and fall by the wayside, but don't you ever let nobody drag your spirit down. Remember, we're walking on to heaven. Don't let nobody turn you around.